A few days ago, I was playing some matches on Crystal, and it's funny because I had a bunch of people watching on the Discord stream. So the first match I had was kind of okay. I was like, yeah, I guess I'm doing okay. The next match was worse, and then the next like two or three matches were really bad. I was like making a lot of mistakes, and I was underperforming by quite a bit. Like, if someone was watching that and didn't know who I was and said I was like playing like at a low gold or like high silver level, I would I would not be surprised. I think that's how I was playing. So the results aside, to me the results weren't too important. Like I think I went 2-2 or 2-3 or something like that. Like whatever, not a big deal. The thing that was important to me was essentially if I were to like play like this moving forward, um, it just I know that I wouldn't be able to win too many games. Like if you try to play the way I was playing in say platinum games, I would be losing more games than I won, right? And to me, what's most important is being able to compete at um, a high level, right? Or at least like a reasonable level. So so I took a look at some of the matches I played, and I realized that a couple things. I was really rushing my mechanics, and I was rushing my callouts. And so you add both of those together, and that ends up being really bad. And I was also missing a few other things, but I think those things were the most important that came to mind. Um, so I kind of spent the next little bit of time, next day or so, kind of like trying to fix those issues. And part of that required me um, instilling more patience in my callouts in my game, and then just trying to like slow the game down for myself. Um, and I thought about a little bit why that happened, and I think when you play a lot of kind of lower ranked games, especially when you're an experienced player, you kind of get used to just doing whatever you want and winning anyway. So that kind of stuff can build a lot of bad habits, and that's part of why I wanted to kind of record this video and talk about it. Is because like I think there's a lot of new players who are playing their first season or playing their second seasons more seriously. They do kind of well up till they hit until they hit gold, and they start playing like these gold plat games, and they're like, man, what I'm doing isn't working anymore. I don't really understand why. And I think it's because when you play against kind of consistently, and you're not against a competition that's not like gonna teach you anything, like say like silver matches and stuff, gold silver matches, then you get these bad habits and you can't diagnose them, and you kind of can't break them until someone helps you. Um, so anyway, I played this match on Saturday, and this is I think it's plat, gold plat, something like that. I don't. I have no idea what I'm at here. Pretty sure it's gold plat, yeah. And there's reasonable players on both sides, so I looked at this as kind of like a way to really kind of make sure that my mechanics were solid and my callouts made sense, and I focused on that. And like going over the video, I felt like um, I'd be able to kind of like go over these things and diagnose them, and talk about them in a way that makes sense and that might help other people. So anyway, we'll get started. So the first thing I do when I play a or jump in a match is I kind of look at the comp. So paladin on the other side. So I look at the other side first, right? I go, okay, they got a paladin, intervention, whatever, standard, additionals, whatever. Healer, white mage, standard additionals, whatever. Sam, standard additionals, whatever. And one thing I would also I would note here is that Wolf is a very good player. That I know he's good and has a lot of experience. Not that these other players, the Paladin or the White Mage, may or may not be good. I just don't really know who they are. But at least Wolf, I know. So when I look at a Sam who has these additionals, I'm going to be thinking, yeah, I may or may not target them as much because I think he's going to rotate his defensive very well, which he did actually. And then I look at the Summoner, and I'm like, okay, well, she's a seasoned veteran. She's quite competent. And so I look at all these things and I'm like, okay, well, this sucks. I had to deal with Adel and I have to deal with a samurai that I'm not going to really be targeting too much. So my job is already kind of difficult from the shot calls perspective. So I am kind of thinking I'm probably going to target the summoner a lot and dive the summoner a lot and just like hope for the best. Right. On my side, I'm a monk. I shotgun stuff down. I know that. That's why I play the job. Healer has standard additionals. I have a warrior. So with a warrior means you're going to be getting a lot of home gang. And other than that, like I actually am not too familiar with updates to Warriors Toolkit, so I guess I'm lacking in that area. And you know, I bring that up. That's actually pretty important. If you are not clear on what the jobs do, like what they mostly do at least, then you probably need to be looking them up. And then the most important thing on my side now is that we have a summoner. So this tells me that you know, when I have a summoner, first of all, I have Phantom Dart. So this changes pretty much exactly how I want to, everything about how I want to play. Phantom Dart plus Monk means things die very quickly. They just explode. So that's one thing to keep in mind. The other thing is that because I have a summoner, he is going to have Wither. So I don't know this player. In general, when I play with a summoner that I don't know, I just assume they're never going to use Wither to strip Hallowed Ground off a Paladin, right? But you don't know that until you try. So I think probably my first go around, I'm going to be trying to kill the Paladin through his Hallowed Ground and just hoping that the summoner follows up. Otherwise, I'm going to be doing just a lot of shotgunning. Since I have to deal with Adel, which is extremely obnoxious for a monk, and intervention and also protect. I think the way, and I'm not sure how much I did in this game, but I think the way to really best deal with that is to split my cooldowns. So I have Feint, Brotherhood, and Riddle of Fire, right? So let's say they didn't have Wither or Adel, excuse me. So let's say they had a Bard or Machinist. Then I'm probably just gonna double or triple stack my buffs on kills, right? But because they have Adel, now I'm going to be splitting my buffs, because if you double up or triple up your buffs and then they just use one Adel and they trade like a 2-for-1 or 3-for-1, and they win that by quite a bit. So there's going to be kind of a lot of dancing around buffs here for me, and I'm just going to try to like sneak stuff through to like get something through. So we'll get started. And here we go. So I haven't actually quite figured out what I want to do with the, it seems a little bit minor, but I haven't quite figured out what I want to do with sprinting yet from the start. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, but I'm kind of more thinking that I'm better off not using sprint right away if I plan on going after the summoner quickly or ranged quickly, because I want to be able to dash and then sprint at them, because if I say dash at them and then they sprint away, then I have a big problem, even if I have triple dash. Because like I'll dash to them, they'll sprint away, I'll dash again, and I'll hit like maybe 1 or 2 abilities, and then they just go away. So I've been saving sprint more often. Sorry. So, and my usual thing lately has been to axe kick right away so I can start a burst immediately. And what I think I want to do here is try and I really don't want to go after the Sam right away, so I want to try to go after Paladin or Summoner, depending on what's going on. And because I still have 2 dashes and my sprint left, I think diving Summoner is okay, but everything is fine. And so because the Summoner is in reasonable distance here, let's say Summoner is at the stairs, then I think this is not a very good call. But Summoner is in pretty good distance here, so to me I think this is totally fine to call. And I I think I'm better off just again splitting my cooldowns and going at the summoner from there. So if I'm looking at this now, kind of what I would rather do before anything else is riddle, fire, dash, and then go after the summoner and try to get either one of protect or addle out, or potentially both. That would be fantastic. And the other thing that is really nice, and I did notice this at the time, but intervention went out on the samurai. But I did know that the Cheaton whatever went out on the Sam. So like there's just no question that we cannot be targeting him. So I think either is fine. Now, like again, let's say I knew that the summoner was really reasonable, rational, like kind of doing what they're supposed to be doing. Uh, then I don't have a problem at all. Just triple loading my buffs and then going right after the paladin and killing him. Because if I have all three buffs up and he has P dart, then he basically evaporates. He puts Hallowed up, then we strip it. He's dead, right? So I call the thing, and the summoner is still in plain view, which is totally fine. And I'm gonna try to push it. So I fail a little bit here because I didn't notice the Addle came out on me. So if I had noticed the Addle coming out on me, I would have like delayed my burst a little bit. That said, I don't think it would have killed. But I would have delayed my burst a little bit, and that might have saved me from using Smite here. So that kind of matters. And then so as a monk or any melee really, but especially as a monk, what you need to be doing is you need to be bursting, snapshotting what's going on, evaluating, and then setting up the next burst, right? So what I would be doing here is I'm like, okay, I jumped in, I burst. What did we use? We used Phantom Dart and Faint, not too great. That reduces the chances of us killing the next time around. It's going to make it very hard for us to get a kill, like say if I were to burst in the next 15 seconds. I basically don't think it's going to happen if that were the case. And I look at what they've used. They've used Protect. Intervention is, I kind of don't really keep track of it too much in a spot like this because it's just going to come back up anyway. But they used Addle. So like we got a couple good things out. So now you want to be thinking like, okay, well, what's the big picture here? And for me, I'm going, well, I don't think we don't really have kill potential, right? The next burst is non-lethal burst. So if we are in a non-lethal burst phase, then we should be forcing additional defensives out, right? So in a non-lethal burst phase, if you force out an additional that they don't want to use, that makes it so then the next time you hit your burst phase, which is lethal burst phase, and by lethal I mean like I'm gonna have fire up and we're gonna have Phantom Dart up, it makes it that much easier because you have an extra target. So like for example, let's say I get arm's length out right now off the Sam, right? And then 15 seconds from now, or was it 30 or whatever, 30 seconds elapses, we have Phantom Dart again, but I'm gonna have fire ready, I'm gonna have Brotherhood ready. They are not gonna have Protect, and if I time it right, then we'll get it out before Addle. Now I can go on either Paladin, I can go White Mage, I can go Sam, because he doesn't have arm's length, or I can go Summoner. Whereas if I don't get arm's length out right now I have one less target to pick, and it makes it that much harder. So this is kind of like what you want to be doing, like in my opinion, as monk. You're gonna, when you're in your non-lethal burst phases, you have non-lethal kill potential, then you just fish for cooldowns to make it easier for yourself. So ideally I would like myself to go really hard at Samurai right now and try to get that arms. However, he's a good player, he just might not do it. So maybe just go on Paladin, which is good, same thing. Well, not really same thing, but just as good, because if we push Paladin now, he uses Rampart. Now when we're on lethal burst phase, now we push him, he's forced to use Hallowed, and then we strip it with Wither. Well, ideally, right? And so I guess, so it looks like that's what I plan on doing. And what I'll also say is that in my when I'm going for a non-lethal burst, um, I've gotten into a habit, which I think is a bad habit, of just calling the countdown too fast or too often. And whereas in season 14, I used to be really, really meticulous about my call outs. And like when I would expect not to be able to like burst anybody, I just actually wouldn't call. Because what you kind of don't want is for your tanks to just like get flustered and then stun when they if they don't use the right judgment, they might just use the stun when they shouldn't stun, right? Or your casters do things they're not supposed to do, like Phantom Dart when they're not supposed to. So I've been trying to dial that back a little bit, and so I think ideally here I would not actually call this countdown, and I would just like throw stuff at the paladin to try to make him like use Rampart. And so, you know, you can see I'm not using fire on that burst. And now I'm going to be setting up for a lethal burst on the next one around. And so he uses Rampart. So this is basically perfect. This is exactly what I want. So the next burst is going to be a lethal burst. Or, you know, obviously I want it to be lethal. But I would consider it my lethal burst. And I look at the stuff out there. Reprisal, annoying. Intervention, annoying. But you always have to deal with the intervention. Arms, we didn't get out, but I'm fine with that because I targeted Rampart. I didn't target arms. And plus he's going to have Bloodbath anyway, so it's like whatever. And he is cheating anyway. But the most important thing is Adel. So what I'm going to have to do with Adel is I'm going to have to try to bait it out somehow, which is hard because Nyx is a very experienced summoner. She's not going to fall for like too many tricks that I have, and so either try to bait it out or I try to like play around it where I just like kind of be more patient with my burst. Adel comes out, just count it out, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, whatever, and then burst after. Like that's in my opinion, that's kind of the only way. So right now, once we pull a Rampart, the ideal thing for me to do right now would be to try to see if I could get Adel out somehow, but it's probably going to be unlikely. But right now, probably the best thing to do would be to go after arm's length. So, and so you only have a few seconds once like Rampart falls off. So like in reality, like ideally you'd be like, oh, let's get arm's length in those 10 seconds before I burst. But in reality, that actually doesn't. It's hard to do that. So just setting up for the next burst, in my opinion, I think it's totally fine. And I think I call Paladin here, and I would be pretty happy that if I did, based on what I'm seeing. But like, let's say Summoner were pushed up and she were not on the stairs, and I like the Summoner call. So I turn around, I decide that I just want the Paladin. And I can make a kind of a quick swap right here to just go after Summoner. But I don't really like to switch too often because I think it really disjoints the team and they start to get very frustrated. So I'm still okay with this. So one thing that is important is that Adel comes out before I use anything. So this is an opportunity where you look at intervention can't go out on the Paladin. He has Hollowed, but we should have Wither. Protect isn't going out. Obviously we're not going after the Sam if you look at his abilities, and then Adel's coming out. So what I need to do here, which I wasn't doing before, what I need to do here is once I load up my buffs, I need to wait for, or at least wait a little bit more for Adel to fall before I load up my buffs. So I think I recognize this, and then I go for it. And so now, this is something that I wasn't doing before, and now I'm doing it. So I'm pretty pleased with my ability to adjust and actually push the right buttons at the right time, which I wasn't doing before. So I'm good with it. Chill, and we get it. Right, our sword worked, and we didn't even have to use Wither, I don't think, because we saw it. So we had a lethal burst. Now we're going into the non-lethal burst. The question is, what do you want to do here? So, Monk is Switching is understanding when you can get a kill and when you can't. Um, and we can't get a kill, so now we're in non-lethal burst, as I said. What do we want to do here? Because we're setting up, every time you get a kill, you're setting up, or you do a burst, you're setting up for the next one. You're not really playing for that moment, you're playing for the moment after that. You're playing for, you have a plan A, you have a plan B. That's what it's always been about, in my opinion. So if you look at this, you should be thinking, I really want to get protect. They lost Paladin. He cannot intervention, right? So the best thing, number one thing we could do right now is to get protect. The second best thing we could do is to get arm's length, right? So I think the clear thing for me to do here is to push Samurai, so he's forced to use arms, but also maybe scare the healer into using protect at the same time. But that's just the ideal scenario, right? So maybe it's clear is the wrong word, but it's the ideal scenario. However, I do think like healers, especially like once they kind of start to like understand the game more and like play like at higher levels, they don't fall for this kind of stuff as much. So in my opinion, kind of like I'm gonna have more of a success rate by pushing Summoner right here, and she's also kind of lower, right? And making this healer go, oh my god, I need to mash protect right here, right now, or my Summoner's gonna die. Whereas if I push the Sam, or the healer might go, okay, I know this player is competent. I'm gonna be patient with my protect. I might not just use it at all. So I think I would rather go for like kind of the more surefire thing. So that ward goes out. That's non-lethal burst. I'm not gonna call a countdown on that because I know nothing's gonna happen and I don't want people to like kind of get out of sync or mess up. So I push her a little bit. Nothing happens at all. Like whatever. I'm back, and I'm gonna back up at this point because like the guy just spawned. They're gonna want to go for counter burst right now. I need to back my team out. Back up, and I can't hit melee because he's invincible. And so this is often the case where you get a kill, you push some, now you kind of have to realize it's time to fall back. Generally, I'm pretty comfortable with this, given obviously I have 2 potions, I have Riddle of Earth, and I have Arm's Length still. So I'm not like, I often do this expecting that I'm going to live. So now kind of what's the next step, right? So if you are playing Monk, one thing that you could, or should be doing rather, is kind of timing your fire to line up with Phantom Dart. And this is kind of how I keep track. It helps me keep track of better of like when it's ready, it's time to burst, like go for lethal burst. So my plan here is like, I'm not really like backing up because I'm like, oh, I'm afraid they're gonna kill me and burst me. I'm backing up because what I'm thinking is I'm repositioning their team to make it beneficial for me to just turn around and bop someone, right? So you look at these buffs and you're like, okay, so what's the ideal thing? So like, let's say we come down the stairs, we start a burst. What is our ideal next burst target? Probably, in my opinion, is probably just go back on this Summoner. But I also kind of wouldn't mind. I mean, like, it's tough, right? Because like we should be setting it for lethal burst next, but it's hard because they have reprisals available, protect is available, arms is up, riddles, addles coming out really soon. So I think in a spot like this, I'm basically just gonna like pray and like try to double up on something or try to catch someone off guard. But I kind of need to see a little bit more before I decide. But at least that's my kind of like current plan, right? And so when this guy's right in front of me, I think now this becomes a very viable option. But then like also like you should be thinking like, well, look at the time, right? So anytime that you're thinking about what to do, or like after you just finish a kill and you're backing up, you always want to take a quick peek at the time. Well, it's 4:39, so I would rather just not use any burst here and try to tank a little bit to make to I want them to burst me so I can live through the burst, so I can go for the boxes so they can't burst the boxes because they don't have anything. That's kind of the ideal thing right here. But I think what I do is I actually call here because I'm trying to force one of them to use, like, I'm trying to force them to use arm's length, maybe get protect out, and I don't think that's bad with 10 seconds left. So I'm gonna probably call it here, and that's actually my plan. And then I actually peek at the clock a little bit late, and I'm like, oh wait, boxes. So I make a mistake here by not recognizing boxes timing. However, the nice thing is though that we got Adel out of the way. So now this is really important. We got Adel out of the way. We got Cheating out of the way. We didn't get protect. Not a big deal. The fact of the matter is the Adel Devil is gone for now. So I'm pretty pleased with this. So now the thing that I really want to do is oh, okay, so I guess I don't notice the box timing, but like whatever. So this is kind of telling me like I'm missing something. And what I'll say is that when you're playing these games, being airtight on your box timings is going to help you win games, right? So I think in this game, I think we lost a bunch of boxes, and that wasn't very good. And that's the kind of stuff that will lose you games because if you're doing this consistently. So I called a burst. When boxes are coming out, so it's not my favorite thing, but at the same time it's kind of like, well, I mean, you might as well do it it's not like I have a choice at this point, right? So just do it here. I think going on Sam is fine. Like Adel is gone anyway, like it might work, why not, right? And so what happens, so it works, and obviously good result. And my tank stunned their healer, or no, it was a pain flare. Okay, so that pain flare was pretty sick pain flare. I'm pretty sure that's what helped secure the kill. So I go for boxes at this point, and now we're going into non-lethal burst. What do we want to do here? Well, the good thing is they used Rampart, and he shouldn't have used Rampart, but he did. So I'm going to be taking advantage of that. So again, whenever you're playing Monk, at least this way, or the way I play it anyway, you're just hunting for defensives. And once you kind of get something out of the way, or you make someone use something that they shouldn't be, that should set up the plate for your next burst, right? So we're not going to have lethal burst. So if we're doing non-lethal next, what I really, really want to do here is I want to get protect. And I would be willing to use, like, say, if I had, like, say, feint, I would be willing to use feint to get feint out of the way so I could just fire up the next one, right? Which would line up with Phantom Dart. But this is probably going to be a lot of me just pushing and just going ooga booga, trying to like scare someone like I'm the boogeyman, right? So we'll see what happens. I get the medals, and kind of the window for non-lethal push is evaporated a little bit because like if I dash in, no one's gonna be scared of that. They're not gonna like, the healer's not gonna use protect, right? The way you actually get protect is if the range is out of position, but she is a smart player. She knows what she's doing. You can see clearly she's not gonna make herself a target. The next best option to scare somebody would be the healer, but he's in good position too. You look at my team, like how are they gonna get there? So like at this point, like there's not really a whole lot of use for me going after anyone. But I still try because I don't know, it's more fun to push buttons, I guess. And you might make someone use a potion that they're not supposed to, or just make someone use something they're not supposed to. So I back up here a little bit, and if I remember correctly, I get completely destroyed here. So I'm not exactly sure what happened. I think they timed their stuff really, really, really well, and I don't know. I guess I underestimated the speed of the burst, and I think part of it is because I haven't been playing too many against Pat players lately, and so when you're climbing, you're kind of getting used to the game a lot, and then you like stay in like the lower ranks to like try to like build a bunch of different level a couple different alts. You're purposely taking yourself out of the higher level games, right? And when you do that, you start forgetting that really good players, competent players, are gonna just punish you perfectly. And that's exactly what happened here. So like, let's say I'm back to playing like a silver game, right? I lived through this like 10 times out of 10, like almost every single time, right? I'm assuming my healer is kind of pushing decent buttons. But in this spot against like strong players like Wolf and Nyx, they're gonna punish you, and you are not really gonna have a lot of choice in the matter. Even if my healer, like, you know, I thought my healer played reasonably well, was pushing buttons well, doing things well, but I don't, you know, I mean, I don't know enough about healer, but I'm pretty sure like it would be tough for anybody to handle this exact like pinpoint kill right here, right? So, you know, obviously you can see I'm mashing my my Riddle of Earth, but it's not really gonna matter. So I get punished, and this, to me, this is like a really good learning moment, and also a good moment for me to like remind myself, like, yeah, good players will kill you, and I get completely deluded. So you know, I'm in my head, I'm like, oh god, this is what it's like to play against players who like take it, you know, punish you, they take advantage of you. So we get back in action. And so one thing I'll say about Monk is that when you're playing Monk, when you die, it's pretty bad. Because if your strategy revolves around forcing defensives like Protect, Arms, Rampart, Addle, etc., when you die, you cannot burst anymore. So they have all the time in the world to like reset their cooldowns and start like brand new, right? So now I have to like set the table all over again, and it's like, it's a big pain in the ass, and it's just harder. The fact of the matter is, it's just harder. Like, if they have half their stuff gone, it becomes a lot easier to get a kill through. But now I kind of have to like either start all over again, or I have to like make them make a mistake, etc., etc. So, or I'm gonna have to gamble, right? And I don't really want to gamble, but you kind of sometimes have to. So here we are, starting over again. I don't really have like a clear target. What I, you know, obviously we notice first he uses Cheatin and Bloodbath, which is great. And now I think, if I'm looking at this right now, I think what I really want to do is, again, like try to get Addle out, or Protect, or, you know, something like that. I don't think that there's a clear option here to go after anybody. So now, like, all I know is I don't want to go after Sam because he has his buffs up. And I kind of don't really want to go after Paladin, but I think it's not like the worst option. But however, if you look at this, you look at this, you're like, the healer is right there. So if I were to push him right now, I might get both Protect and Addle. So looking at this, not knowing where the summoner is, I think I would be pretty happy calling the what do you call it? The White Mage. However, I don't do it. I guess I decided to just go after the Paladin again. And Addle comes out, 2 out of 5 chakra. I don't think this is the greatest call by me, but I think I can catch up. And so I see that the Addle comes out. I recall my call, or countdown, which I think is the right move. Now I'm pretty pleased with it. Phantom Dart is coming out. Now I think this burst is good and fine and totally viable. Right, so I corrected this, whereas I wasn't correcting this kind of thing before. I do it, I start loading up on buffs, then I get myself off correctly, and you know, he survives and he gets hallowed up in time, and that's totally fine. So we get Protect out and we get hallowed out. Addle is out. It didn't work. Whatever. Not a big deal. Part of playing Monk is that you're gonna, well, any minute again, you're gonna burst. A lot of times it's just not gonna work. So now we're doing the cooldown juggling thing again, and now the next one is gonna be a non-lethal burst. And I think in your head you should be thinking, I really need to get Rampart out, because if you get Rampart out, now the burst that comes after that is lethal burst. Now you just straight kill him because he doesn't have Rampart, he doesn't have Protect, he doesn't have Hallowed, there's no Addle, he should be dead. So it should be like golden opportunity here. And I think I just like throw out a chakra just because like when you're playing monk, you want to be using a lot of chakra. You don't really want to be sitting on it. And like again, this is non-lethal. We're in non-lethal burst right now, so you just want to drop it and like make someone use potions, whatever. That said, I should have been doing that on the paladin. I don't know why I didn't do that. I think probably he was just, the guy was just there at the time. Okay, so we survive an LB there, and now we should be setting up for lethal. And I'm still, I guess, pushing the I'm still just pushing the melee, trying to get arms out. So again, like I said, I think the clear play was to be getting the rampart out there, given Hollowed was down. But I like this is how you like kind of fix your issues or think about things differently. You look at it and you say, okay, well, this is a mistake. It looks kind of silly given what I know and what I think is right, but that's okay. So I recognize, I think correctly, that we weren't ever gonna kill anything there. Optimally, I would have tried to get Rampart. That wasn't happening, but at least I'm recognizing that it's time for the Wolf's Heart. So I'm gonna go for that, and I think I fail here. Now, like if I had my, what do you call it, smite ready, then I think this is a lot better or easier because I can go 6 in a smite and take the box right away. So I think my mechanics kind of like don't work. Yeah, like you see me pushing smite there and like trying to like get it through. So like I think I just didn't push the buttons right there, so that was kind of a mistake on my part. So, however, that's probably not the biggest thing that happened here. At least the most important thing. So, from a burst perspective. So, what happened was they used tank LB, which they shouldn't have. They also used Addle, which they shouldn't have. So now this is a perfect spot to be like, okay, well, we didn't get the Wolf's Heart. Let's take advantage. What's the most optimal thing we can do? Well, get a kill, right? So I noticed that I have LB up. I can use that at potentially at any time. We should have Phantom Dart. So in my opinion, the optimal target here would be to go after the summoner if she is in range, and if she's not in range, then the softest target next would be the healer. Now, the other thing about it is we lost the Wolf's Heart, so now healer is going to go for Wolf's Heart. So we need to go after healer, in my opinion. This is just like all these things make sense. So this is probably what I'm hoping to do. So you see me call it, and I think everything is lined up, right? So like even if intervention comes out, I don't really care. Phantom Dart's going to go out, and I'm going to triple load my buffs here probably, which I do. And I go on him, and it doesn't work. And so I think, they push their buttons correctly, they respond correctly. That's okay. I'm just going to keep mashing buttons on this guy, and I do have LB, so I can potentially get him still. So now Protect comes out. So the burst fails completely. Again, whatever. We're now in non-lethal phase, and I have to figure out what to do to set up the next kill. So, Rampart's out, which is not bad. But without like burst potential, it's in him having Hollow again. It's not going to be as important. Protect is out. That's the most important thing. Addle's out is probably like one of the most important things as well. I think right now what I really want to do is try to get arms out. But I also don't mind just pushing pushing a little bit of DPS here and maybe chasing the summoner around. But anyway, either way, the burst fails, and then you're like, oh yeah, we haven't killed anyone. It's culling time. So now things change. When you go into culling time, when you have LB, all your past sins are erased. You're just like, okay, well, forget all those bad bursts I made. I'm gonna LP someone, and like everyone's gonna forget, right? Which is what exactly what happens. So your goal in calling time should be like, okay, well, definitely don't LP right away because that's just stupid. You're not gonna kill anyone, and I'm just gonna be really mad at you that you did it. What you really want to do is you want to LP in C2, C3, because that with a little bit of follow up, that's basically a guaranteed kill. So now this is where it gets really exciting because you're like, well, now without calling, you can't really kill anybody because we don't have P-Dart, right? However, they don't have Rampart, they don't have Protect, they don't have Addle. I just need to be a little bit patient, get to C2, C3, and go for my stuff. And I do have arms. Looking at my team stuff, they have Addle, they have Men of Ward. We don't have Protect, which kind of sucks, but I think we're in better shape than they are. I have LB. The other enemy, the enemy melee does not have LB. This is what's going to be most important here. So what I want to do at this point is, so knowing that you have LB, you need to pull your team into position to make it favorable for you. So if we're still on this side of the map, I'm going to get blown up at some point. It's just going to happen. And even if I have arm's length or whatever, I don't want that to happen. What I want to do is I want to drag the enemy team over to my side and put them behind my wall so I can LOS either. I want their healer to not have access to heal my burst target, or I don't want their summoner to just cast stuff on me or my team. So what I really want to do is I want to back stuff up here. This is a non-lethal burst, and I know that because P-Dart's gone, so I'm just kind of calling a thing just to make something happen, and then I'm gonna set up my LB. And so we get Cheating out. They don't have Rampart, they don't have Reprisal, they don't have Addle. The next thing that happens is going to be LB, ideally. And if that doesn't work, I have Fire coming up along with P-Dart. So I am basically, I feel like we're in prime position to do whatever we want here. The only thing you need to do in calling times is to like understand where you're at, what advantages you have, and use those advantages by not panicking and slowing the game down for yourself. So I think one thing that I've been doing a little bit too much is I've been kind of like forcing the issue. And what I kind of remind myself is like, calling time is just like all the other times you play. It's just like, it just seems scarier because, you know, it seems like more is on the line. But really, it's just making your job easier to kill someone. So don't like panic, don't mash buttons when you're not supposed to, unless it's like C4, C5. Then just put as many buttons out as possible. But for here, you need to keep your cool to execute your plan. And C2 is going to come up very soon. And now I am ready to call my countdown. So I put my riddle up. They are bursting my tank. In these instances as melee, all you can really do is pray that your team's like gonna handle it, and go from there. So I call the thing, and he dies. And so when he dies, I'm going for LB here. When he dies, I'm like, oh great. It's very unlikely we actually get a kill here, so I cancel the LB. As it turns out, this might have actually worked. I won't know. But I'm pretty sure he healed up like very quickly right after. Like I really, you know, I look at this now, I'm like, there's just no way it would have worked. But in the moment, I was like very happy to like, and looking at this now, like very happy to cancel the LB because I'm like, oh no. Like, let's save that because I'm going to need that later on. And so, I prefer not to call a countdown here because I want to make sure that my summoner saves their dart. And it does kind of suck that, you know, they're gonna have Addle, they're gonna have Reprisal, they're gonna have arms or whatever, but I feel like my team all needs to be there before I call something. And so in these spots where you get pushed in your base, now you need to turn around and evaluate like what do I want to do. And the most important thing is realizing where the enemy team is standing in relation to you, right? So now you look at this and you're like, well, if we burst right away, who can we kill and who's within my grasp? I really want to get the summoner here. Summoner is just has no real escape. They have sprint or bolt, whatever. The Sam can just dash away. Healer is also an option. And Paladin, I don't really want to go after, so it's going to be either Healer or Summoner here. I think either are fine choices. I kind of prefer to go after Summoner a little bit more because I think healers are going to be a lot more apt to heal themselves rather than like heal someone else. So if that's just kind of what I suspect anyway. So, but either regardless, it doesn't like matter too much. Now, when I turn around like this, now I think it's actually pretty clear because now healer is just closer. That's it. I mean, there's nothing else really to it, and like that little bit of distance matters, right? So we notice that Adel goes out, and it's like this is fantastic for me. So my hope here is that I call the burst, I load up my stuff, but it's loaded so that it still lands after the Adel falls off. So let's see what happens. And we get the burst, and we should explode, which is what happens. And now this is like, okay, now it's time to make money. All right. So I'm going to get these medals. We're going to push right away. And in my head, like these are the moments where you're kind of just like experience really plays a lot of an important role, what you're doing. Because what you don't want to be doing is being like, okay, what are the medals? Who has what? Blah, 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 blah. What's easier to do is just be like, oh, Summoner can't really run away from you, so just chase the Summoner. Whereas, you go after the Paladin, they're going to hollow, they're going to double do whatever. Sam will dash away, etc., etc. Obviously, this is made much easier by us having the lead now, so I don't really have to think too much. What's annoying is that when you actually don't have the lead and you actually have to do like the quick math in your head while chasing people around, because you really want to just call the countdown right here, right now, and get your team on the ball. Right? So I'm just going to push Summoner, kind of work this out. I'm just pushing a button. I just want to do whatever it takes to get the kill here. You see me back out here a little bit because for reasons in my head I'm thinking, oh, I need to back out here to provide my healer line of sight, but like because I'm used to distrusting my healers. Like when I dash down that pathway, I'm used to my healers continuing to run. See, like run over here. Like I'm expecting healers to often run over here. So if I were to dash down here, then I expect that I don't get heals too often. But really, like if you look at this healer's positioning is very good. So if I just dashed down this way, I would have been fine. That said, I still do have another dash here. So like, for me, what I like to do is I like to back out, reevaluate, and then go back in. So this is what I do. Like once I see what the healer is up to, right? So like if I saw the healer coming up this way, I'd be like more reticent to dash this way. But knowing when I turned around and saw the healer kind of like there-ish a little bit, then I'm like, okay, that's fine. And so we get the kill. Meanwhile, our boxes are being stolen by the enemy melee, and what he's doing is the right thing. When you cannot kill or you cannot get the kill and you can't depressure, like if he were up on me, it wouldn't have really mattered because I have arm's length. So there's no way for him to depressure me. So the next best thing you can do is like, okay, well, if we're not killing, then let me get the boxes. So he goes for the boxes. If I'm not mistaken, I think I just saw Wither. I don't know. And so now we're back in it, and now I had to think about, okay, 1 minute left, a little bit over a minute left. What do I want to do here? The way you kind of preserve a win here is you sit on their melee and don't let him play. You want to make it so he has 0 potions, and that when he's trying to burst, he's stuck between like, I guess I have to use my Kinky to Cheatin, or I have to like run away or dash away to live, right? So I think the ideal thing here is to force as many of his defenses out as possible and as many of his potions, so that when you get to like 30 seconds left, he just has so few options and he's very, very killable. So I think what I would like to see myself do is call a bunch of countdowns on him and just make his life hell. I fail here by by not using my buffs. I'm not sure why I did that, but that would be that's a mistake, because like if you look, like Pete Art was out and I think I wasn't paying attention. So Pete Art is out and I use my other buffs there. Like this guy just dies, right? So okay, well that sucks. I messed up. And so this kind of tells you like the problem that like if you don't sync with your team, now what the heck do you do, right? Because now we don't have P Dart. I have my buffs. Now their fire or their protect is available. It's like, what's the whole point? Like Adel is gone, yes, right? But like if I try for a lethal burst next time, I don't think it's really gonna work. We're just not really gonna have enough. So I think I failed in that aspect, and maybe at the time what I was thinking was that like, oh, Adel, so I don't really want to mess with it. So but you know, that's what happens sometimes. So I should be calling here, and the question is, who do I call? And I still think calling Sam is good. That said, calling Summoner is viable as well, because if you actually kill the Summoner, then the game is effectively over. However, that's contradictory to what I said, right? Because like we're in kind of like non-lethal burst territory, given that Summoner doesn't have P-Dart. So I looking at this, I think I would rather just keep pushing the Sam and make him try to get potions and arm's length out of him. So if I were to do this and play this back right here, right now, what I would probably do is use fire, keep feint, but use fire and try to get that double defensive out, so that the next burst phase would be a P-Dart burst phase. So I don't do that at all, but use arms anyway, so it's good for me. So now what I really want to do is not use anything, because now I'm going to be able to triple load my buff, and then on top of P-Dart, and that should be okay. And I think I call yeah. So Protect goes out on Sam. Summoner basically just can't live here. If we don't kill Summoner, our target Summoner here on this burst, then it's a throw. The other targets are not important or meaningful or viable for me. And then Nyx has to push in, because like they're desperate for kills at this point. So now my job is just made a little bit easier. And we put the burst down and get it, and that's basically game. You know, I at the end of this match, I was actually for the first time in a while like, yeah, I did a lot more things right than I did wrong. Whereas like, you know, I think the past couple days I've been playing, you know, not up to the level that I think I'm capable of playing, for many reasons. And like I said before, I'm not really super concerned about like my rating, my win rate, all these other things, right? That stuff's not like big deal to me. What matters to me is like the level I feel like if I'm playing the way I think I'm capable of playing, because I want to be playing at like at least a platinum level. I'm pretty sure I'm capable of that if I you know, do all the things right and playing at a diamond level, and trying to get there. But like this, to me, this is like a step in the right direction. I feel like I did a lot more things that I'm used to doing that make me feel like the way I used to playing. Um, so yeah, this is kind of how like you kind of break down this kind of game, um, and like sort through. At least for me, anyway. This is how I like sort through my decision making, and how I think about like how I refine what I want to do. I look at my mechanics and all these other things. So I think there should be a lot to take from this, for anyone who's looking for help on this kind of like shot calling and buffs and decision making and all that other stuff. But anyway, so thanks for watching. If you have any questions, let me know.